Hello, so welcome back to another episode of 10-minute tutorial on how to play Yu-Gi-Oh for beginners. So you can see here today that I've got these paper cutouts in front of us just to explain what the different phases are, because today we're going to be talking about what you can do in one turn of Yu-Gi-Oh. So it's a turn-based game. But there are things you can do on your opponent's turn, but that's for much later. So let's go through the basic structure. I'm going to use this dice to mark which phase we're in, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about what you can do. So I should set up my deck before we start, so I can show you the actions. So main deck, again, as a little reminder, on the right, extra deck on your left, deck box away. Cool. So most games of Yu-Gi-Oh start out with 5 cards in each player's hand. The turn player does not draw any cards when the game first starts. That's to make it fair. So because in Yu-Gi-Oh there is, some would argue, inherently an advantage in going first, because you get to set up your board and you're doubly prepared for your opponent's turn, because you've not only got your field, you've also got what's left in your hand to interrupt them. So the player going first will start with 5 cards, as will the player going second, but then when it moves to their turn, in their draw phase, they're able to draw 1 additional card from their main deck. But let's assume, okay, we're going first, so we only have 5 cards in our hand. So this is the draw phase. So usually for every draw phase, you can draw a card, but like I said, if you're going first, that's not a thing. You got 5 cards. So draw phase, you can do some things, such as play, say, like a quick play spell card, which we will be covering in, I think, like an episode or 2, so it won't be long. So there's not too much you can do in draw phase, but that is an option. And also some monsters have what we call quick effects, but we'll go through that later as well. So assuming there's nothing to do in draw phase, you move on to standby phase. And when you play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh, in real life with cards, it's really important to call out these phases, because your opponent may have something that they want to do during these phases as well. So it's important to signal that you're going to move from one phase to another. Standby phase here. Sometimes there can be things that can be done in standby. Again, quick play spell cards, quick effects of monsters, but we'll skim over that for a sec. And then main phase 1. So main phase 1 here is where most of the action happens. So this is where you can conduct your 1 normal summon per turn. So let's say we just want to do 1 normal summon, or if you want, you can just set the monster, okay? You can also not only do your 1 normal summon or set, you can also go ahead and special summon monsters, and you can do that through monster effects or by activating spell cards. So you can do that in your main phase 1 as well, just place it in the spell and trap zone, and then special summon another monster from deck. Alright, so for example, that would be completely fine play. And also in main phase 1, you can also set your purple cards, your trap cards. Remember, you can set these on your turn, but you can't actually activate them until it's at least your opponent's turn. Sort of one piece of advice at this point, usually if you want to set something on your opponent's to go on your opponent's turn, I would wait until at least you get to main phase 2, and I'll explain why in a bit. Okay, so let's say we're still in main phase 1. We've summoned our 2 monsters. We've got 1 normal summon and got 1 special summon. We then want to signal to our opponent, and you just say, you know, I'd like to move to battle phase, see if I've got anything to do. If they still have something they want to do, then you're still in main phase 1. And once they've finished that, you still have an option just to stay in main phase 1 and carry on special summoning if you feel that you can do so or want to do so. So let's assume your opponent's got nothing to do, and then you move along to battle phase. So we talked about battle phase in the last episode, and how to deal damage to your opponent. So you pick up your card and select a target if there is one, and you declare attack onto each monster. If in this case, let's say our opponent's board is completely clear, then you can attack them directly. One really important thing to note in the battle phase, or of the battle phase, is that if you are going first, you do not have a battle phase, because can you imagine how unfair that would be if you went first and you could just deal them damage without anything on their board to protect themselves? So for most turns, yes, there is a battle phase, but for the very first turn, the player going first does not have a battle phase. Super important. When you pass turn to the opponent, and it's the going second person's first turn, as it will, they will have a battle phase because you've already had a chance to set up your board. So once the battle phase is over, you move to a main phase 2. So this is another opportunity for you to, I would say, set up your board in preparation to defend yourself when the turn passes to the opponent, is how I would think about it. So that can include, say, normal summoning a monster if you haven't done so in main phase 1 already. And it can include carrying on special summoning monsters if you have cards that allow you to do so. This is when, you know, you may want to go into your extra deck for other monsters. For example, we'll go into XYZ summoning, but for example, you could overlay these two into a rank 4 monster if you wanted to do so. Or just carry on just special summoning more bodies to the field. Like, it's completely up to you what you want to set your end board as. So that's main phase 2. And I mentioned that you should typically try and set cards that you want to play on your opponent's turn during main phase 2, just because if you do set them during main phase 1, then your opponent may have a couple more options during battle phase and, you know, the game, during the you know, the proceedings of the game, to destroy whatever it is that you set. So you don't really want to set anything until you're about to pass turn to the opponent. So that's why I would recommend, if you are going to set something in preparation for use your opponent's turn, I wouldn't do it generally until you've nearly finished your turn, just before you pass. Okay, so you've got to set in main phase 2. This is your last chance to do anything really in general to your board. Okay, and then we finally move to the end phase. Now the end phase is important as well, because some cards, not here, but some have special effects that will happen in the end phase. So you have to read all the cards carefully, and there are indeed cards that activate in each of these phases. So in the end phase, you can't normal summon a monster, but sometimes you can special summon a monster if there is a card that lets you do so. You also can't set any more cards on the field. So this is your last chance really to do main stuff. And this essentially, after this is over, you'll pass over to your opponent, your turn has finished, and your opponent will start again in the draw phase. And because they're going second, they will be able to draw a card from their main deck, and secondly, they will have a battle phase because they're not going first, and that so it's much fairer. So those are the main things to be aware of with the phases. So that's it really, actually, for this video. Quite a short and sweet one. Next video, I intend to take you through the extra deck, where we explore some other monsters that you can special summon, and some other techniques. You can see the white cards, black cards and blue cards, and we'll go through exactly how to get to all of those. So I hope you found that one quite informative, and I'll hopefully see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.